Hello, I'm Juan Villanueva, the owner of GV Succulents, LLC.
So much for being here, Juan. I've been wanting to interview you for a long time. The first time I got the impression of your brand was when I read on Instagram that you named it after your daughter.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, tell me about that.
So like my whole life my professional life, I've been an engineer, and I was always looking for that next hustle, the next hobby, uh, something that got me a little bit more excited beyond engineering. And when my daughter was born, I was like, man, I took a lot of time off. I had never taken so much time off from work. I'm a guy that's always working. I have to be working. So if not, I get bored. And I'm like, man, I'm gonna come up with something. So I started getting before that I was getting into a lot of drought tolerant plants. Um, I was promoting at work a lot of drought tolerance, trying to help the environment, but I had a lot of grass in my house. So I was like, how can I be preaching it but not practicing it? So I got rid of my grass, started planting succulents and cacti. Then I started accumulating local pottery from local artists. And when my daughter Grace was born, I said, I could probably do this myself. This is a hobby that I can do at home. This is a hobby I can teach her as she develops. Um, and it's something that's going to give me some side income possibly to put into her to her 529, her college fund, right? And we're planning on having a second daughter too, or a second child. So I was like, I'm gonna be home a lot, and I started working from home because of COVID. So I was like, man, I can. It's a little bit more flexible now. Let's try it out. So I went on YouTube and started making pots, and I named it GV. Initially, it was just Grace Villanueva, which Villanueva is my last name. But we did make our second daughter. Her name's Faith Valeria, so I'm gonna be calling this Grace Valeria. So GV will stand for both of their names, one first name and one middle name. Like that, they won't say when they get older, "Hey, what happened to me?" You know. So, I mean, ultimately it was for my future daughter. So 2 months after the first one was born, I started doing this and fell in love. It's been now that was February 2022. So this month I hit 3 years doing ceramics.
You mentioned learning off of YouTube. So other than that, are you completely self-taught?
So I would say 90%, yes. So at one point after COVID, after it all settled down, I did join a local studio in downtown LA, and that was very close to work in Chinatown. And I did take some classes, but I had already been doing it for so long that the class was a little basic. Um, I only do hand building. I don't do a wheel. I don't throw. They call it throwing. I don't do any throwing. I tried a throwing class. It wasn't my thing at that studio. But I learned how to run a kiln. I learned how to run my own studio at home, how to organize. So I thank them a lot for them. I built really good relationships there. The guy that does maintenance on my kiln when it goes down is a guy I met at the studio who's a very talented artist himself. Um, and I took an advanced chemical class at that studio to learn how to make my own glazes. So I credit them for teaching me how to make my own glazes and how to run my own studio.
Yeah, and you're doing really interesting things with your glazes, and we'll get into that later. I'm
Thank
gonna
you.
get some information out of you about that.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so you mentioned your background in mechanical engineering, and I believe you were also in environmental engineering.
So I was right before graduating, I was doing my master's degree in mechanical engineering with an environmental and alternative energy emphasis. So because I was an intern at the Department of Defense for the Navy in Port Hueneme, but then I ended up getting an opportunity somewhere else where I've been there for now 12 years, and do practicing working with engines. I'm a vibration analyst, level 2 expert. So I do a lot of vibration analysis and stuff, making sure like the bearings and the mechanical equipment doesn't fail prematurely. So that's what I do at work.
It sounds like such a departure from making, beautiful plant pots.
Yeah.
Where did the love for plants initially come from?
I would have to credit my mom for sure. My mom. I mean, I feel like most most moms, I wouldn't even say Latina moms. I think moms all over the world just love plants. And at some point, as you start growing up and you start seeing them and stuff. But so that, I mean, there was always something in me, I guess, because seeing my mom so much, she has so much love and passion for plants. I was always very artistic. I was always very into outdoors. So like on my free time, especially before getting married, um, all I would do was travel and like, I went to Africa and try to hike, that Mount Kilimanjaro, and like I went to Peru and did Machu Picchu, and I've done a lot of outdoors, and I would see rocks, I would see plants, and I would really admire them. I've always been very artistic. I've always liked to paint and draw. On my free time, I wouldn't do that because I was like, it's not paying anything. I can't. I need to produce. I need to generate. But now that I made this into like a side hustle, I mean that adds motivation to actually make some time for it, and it really brings out the artistic side of me, and I think that's what really captivates me. And work at some point after being in that same group, I've been in that group for 9 years where I'm at right now, and I've been in the company for 12, but in that group for 9. So I pretty much mastered like almost everything there, but I really enjoy it too. So now the pottery kind of forces me to think beyond my limitations that work, that I have at work now. So I pottery. I'm like, okay, I need to come up with the next thing. I need to compete with this guy or that guy. I need to have the new glaze. I need to have the new texture. I need to have the new dimensions. I need to keep up with the production because people are. It's just a side. I mean, I do this at night, and after I work, full 9-hour shifts, and after I'm a full time dad and husband, so I'm like, I need to find time. I need to find time. So it's fun. I love setting goals. As you can tell, I love to crush them. So that's my thing. And then and then plants again. I got rid of my grass and started putting plants and seeing them flower, seeing that plants had different seasons. Like some of them flower in the spring, some in the with summer, some of them in the fall, some in the winter. And then seeing all the wildlife coming to my front yard in comparison to when I just had grass and all I had was like freaking ants or or maybe some flies here and there. So it was a big change. And then you start seeing people on Instagram with like staging plants, and I'm like, that looks so cool. I want to stage them. I started buying, and I'm like, I could probably do this. And I've always been tempted to. I've always been captivated by like as an engineer, I don't get to use my hands too much with like building it. I manage the projects, but I always admire the mechanics. Like some of them would laugh at me, like bro, why are you so excited about me like making this building or whatever? I'm like, dude, because you're getting raw material and you're making something out of nothing. I mean, it's something, but it's not. It has no form. Now I get to do that. So honest, I mean, it's just the passion. It's crazy. Like making something that people admire, people love, and then I get to see what they do with it is very rewarding.
I agree. And there's such a like chicken and the egg aspect to what you're doing right now, where you obviously have been artistic for so long, but like using it now is like an old flame coming back, right?
So my daughter came in. She came December 2021, and in February, 2 months later, I started doing the pottery.
We're talking about keeping up with production, and this is so funny. I was looking at your Instagram page and you had the system set up where you would kind of put your pots that you finished making, you would put their pictures up as story highlights, and then you would kind of say, hey, these are now sold. And it kind of started as like a catalog for you, right? You're like,
Yes.
here are all the available pots, but now you just have this like this impressive volume of pots that you've sold, and they're all on your Instagram.
Yeah, I kind of slowed down with that only because now I've been like I'm 100% on Palmstreet. Like today I had 21. I only had 4 left, right? And because I try to stay, I do my sales during my lunch break, so or I'll do them on the weekend. But normally in the weekend I've been doing a few during lunch, and I limit myself to about 45 minutes. I get about an hour lunch. I do a 45-minute sale, and whatever sells in 45 minutes sells. So I try to be very flexible. I try to make it fun. I'm like, all right, guys. So people go at it, right? They know what they want right away because I post photos before a quick little video. So the ones that are like desirable, they sell like within 5 minutes. But then I start, okay, let's go, let's have some fun, guys. So then I do auction, I do like improv auctions, and or I'll do like, all right, at the last 4 pots, I'll do a 10% discount, guys. Take them now, boom. I had to cancel one time. I've had canceled one order on Palmstreet because of my mistake. But I explained to the customer, and I'm very, I don't know if you know, but I communicate very well with my customers back and forth, and and they appreciated the quick response.
And, since we're talking about it, in that case, what do you do? Do you kind of say, hey, that's gone, I'm so sorry? Or do you kind of try to give them a different pot?
In that situation, I told him, hey, look, I have these other pods, or I can remake that same similar one because nothing ever comes out. Everything's one of a kind, but I'll try to make it as close as possible. And at that point, the guy's like, oh, I'll wait for the next sale. So like a few days later, I had a next sale, and then he picked something up. But I give an options to people. Like also, like if the USPS mistreats something accidentally, like chips, I'll tell them, hey, do you want a replacement pot, or do you want a discount on your future order? Because most of the time it just chips like on the edge or something. I've only had like in Palmstreet, I've only had about 2 pots from, I don't even know how many I've sold already. I think almost like 700 or more, maybe 800 or more. I have them in Germany. I have them in Canada. I have them in Dominican Republic, Mexico, and like 40 something states. Yeah, so I stopped doing it too. I stopped doing that whole catalog thing when I went full time on Palmstreet because it was just causing people to be like, "Oh my god, I missed that! I missed that! I missed that!" And then they'll be kind of they start getting kind of sad, but it kind of pushed them to jump on Palmstreet, which is good. So most of them are on Palmstreet, except the few people that refuse to join for whatever reason.
You know what? Can't win them all, but
You can't.
no, but it's also cool. Like, it's a testament to your work how many people did come onto Palm Street because of you.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you mentioned something really cool, which is something I love about hand building as well, because I'm actually the same as you in that way, where I went to a studio and I learned how to both hand build and throw on the wheel, and I just prefer hand building so much. And your literal handprints are on there, and every single one is unique.
Yeah. Yeah. So and I really push myself to if you ever see if you ever see one of my drops, they're almost every single one of them's different. So like I'll do a different. I try to do one glaze of each. So it takes me. When I first started, I would do like 3 or 4 of each, and it was so fast. Like I would finish glazing in an hour. Because I so my kiln fits about 20 to 23. Let's just say 20 on average. 20 pots on average, and average size being 4 by 4, 4 inches by 4 inches. And it's a small kiln. It's about 2 feet tall by 18-inch diameter. But it's perfect so far. I just have to make sure I have the next 20 ready. And I do like one of each. So it went from being 1 hour to being 3 hours, of glazing. And it's just me. It's me doing the whole process. My wife, I give her credit for taking care of the girls when I'm doing this work. Sometimes I bring them out with me, and it just takes me an extra hour or so, but I get to play with them at the same time. And like the little one, you'll see her like she'll make little things. She made a duck with clay when she was like 2 years old. Like she just makes random things. So it's cool. It's cool. She's already learning.
That's cool. And that's, a great way to be involved with the kids as well.
Yeah.
And like you said, I did see that in your lives that they're all different, but you can also tell there are almost like phases that you go through where you're like, oh, experimenting with drip a lot. And I've been really excited to bring this up. You've been doing this glaze effect where it's all like crumpled, like
Oh, the crackle. I have a pot here with this 30-year-old turbinate carpus. It's one of my favorite plants, Lophophoroides. And it's a clay with the heavy iron wash, and then I have this. I make this at home. It's they call it crawl. It's a crawl glaze. So when you apply it, it's just like any other glaze. It's just like one layer, but as it starts drying, it starts cracking and it starts crawling away from each other. So that's why they call it the crawl glaze. But I just give it different names on the sales. Like I'll call it the coconut or just people love that. They love like the having names to it.
I saw your live today where you were like, this is banana ice cream. And I was like, that is banana ice cream.
Whatever comes to my head, I just name it. Even like if I get a whole different name in my head when I see it, I'll change the name on it. I'm like, that's what it looks like. It like to me, the texture might change the name to it, might change the whole look. Um, and that's another thing. Like for me, as much as I want to be very scheduled, I can't I'm so committed. To I have a full-time job. I got like my daughters and stuff. So the other day, you probably saw my post on Instagram. I loaded the kiln with 21 pots and 13 of them blew up, and that was because I was trying to meet the makers market, and I was like, damn it! It was that week that it rained in LA, like 2 days back to back. So there was so much humidity that it messed up my schedule. So I learned my lesson. It was just like not rush it, and I don't announce my live to like a day or 2 days before, because I like right now I have my kiln firing, uh, but then I don't know what time tomorrow I'm gonna be able to glaze them. Or sorry, to glaze them, right? It could be I work tomorrow in the office. I'll be there till like 3:30. I get home. There might be something the family needs. Let's say I start at 6 p.m. Well, now it's gonna throw me off they won't be ready till who knows when. They need to cool for 6 hours, fire for another 8, right? Then the whole photography part. I used to do the whole background thing, but people really appreciated like the on hand because they can get a reference of size, and that's what they said about it. Yeah, and it's faster for me. So I'm like, all right. So now it takes me like 30 minutes, 45 minutes. Before it was taking me like 2 hours to take the photos and load them into Palmstreet with the dimensions and a clever little name and stuff like that, and pricing.
And another thing that I saw you do on live is that you memorize not only your customers but also what they like.
Yeah. I think I'm better at knowing what they like than remembering their names sometimes. Especially when they keep change. Some people change their username so often. I'm like, who are you? And they're like, oh, it's this person. I'm like, oh, okay, okay. So yeah, so I people have a certain taste, and they're just when they're repeating customers. I know already what they like, and I'll message. I'm like, hey, I got this coming up, and they're ready. Yeah.
Oh, I love that. And you can just like reach out to them like proactively.
Yeah, no, I always message. I keep track of the shipping. Like every morning during my breaks, I'll go and I'm like, okay, I don't ship that many. I ship about, I don't know, 10 boxes, 12 boxes every like 4 days, right? So I'll keep a track. I'm like, oh, why is this taking so forever? So I'll look, and like the USPS took it instead of LA, they took it to freaking Alaska. It happens. And I'm like, hey, I apologize for on behalf of USPS. I'll message them privately. I'm like, the package it should be there hopefully in 3 to 4 days. If it doesn't arrive, it gets lost. I did put there's $100 insurance on it, so I can file a claim. If they're patient, I'll file the claim and wait for the processing. If they're a little bit impatient, then I'll refund them or give them a new pot, But I try to be very proactive and very try to communicate with them, make them feel like we're family, like we have a relationship. It takes a lot more work than just selling it and all right, bye. And I also pride myself in shipping same day or next morning. So today my sale was at what? It was at 12. I was done by 12:40, and before we met, I had already taken all the pots to the USPS, packaged, shipped, scanned. So people get them the next morning. The people that live here, like up in like a few hours away from me in Riverside or something. Yeah,
So a lot of the pottery sellers on the platform do Palm Street as in addition to their full-time job.
yeah,
And pottery specifically can be so fickle. When you have to wait for it to dry, you have to wait for firing, in addition to your own schedule, and then also working on the clay schedule, basically.
yeah, yeah. And I mean, you're very familiar with the process as you do clay yourself. So
It is really, really impressive. And I want to talk to you about your journey with Palmstreet because, like you said, you started off, on different platforms. You were selling on Instagram. How did you find Palmstreet?
Palmstreet reached out to me and asked me if I want to be with a seller. I was one of the first ones he reached out to. It was like Bill. I think it was just Bill and I. And then I signed up, but I never really. I didn't know how to approach it. I've never sold something like formally like that. I've never done an in-person sale. I've always been invited, and and I'm very embarrassed to tell people no because I don't want them to feel like I'm cocky or something. It's a lot of effort to take your pottery, especially it's so fragile too, and take it to a location, set up a table, spend your whole afternoon there, and possibly have to take the whole family and babies crying and stuff. So I was like, I always tell them like I'll try. I'm like I'm not gonna waste your time. Like I can't make it work right now. I'm like I sell online and online only right now. So um I was just doing Instagram and I did a little bit of OfferUp and Facebook Marketplace, but my biggest seller was I was so 99% Instagram. And I would sell out if not as fast or before Pop Street. I would kill it. I would kill it. It was all Instagram quick. But Palm Street started slowing things down a little bit, and Jeff reached out to me, and I said, okay, let me check it out. So I started catching people, and I'm like, I love public speaking. I do a lot of PR for my company as well on the side. It's a whole different other job I interviewed for, but I love PR, love talking to our customers and stuff. So I'm like, you know what? I'm not scared of talking. So I'm like, I joined. I started with purges, and people started really liking my stuff, and they're like, hey, we like your prices, we like your work, um, we like that you have set prices. You're not auctioning and making people fight for their life to get a pot. And I'm like, all right, like, but when are you gonna do a live? And I was like, how does that even work? Like, all right, let's try it. So I tried it, and I saw how successful lives were in comparison to purges. And I do a purge here and there when like I had to cut my life short, but like it hasn't been my sole purpose of selling on Palm Street anymore. So yeah, so Palm Street has been very supportive, and that's what kind of keeps me loyal and keeps me motivated as well. To make money for both of us.
Gosh, yeah, and what an honor it is too, because there are people like you said who have a lot of life going on,
Yeah,
and it is indeed a whole thing to go to craft fairs and set up tables, which is a really cool environment, but it also is a luxury
yeah.
um, to have that time. How would you say your business has changed since you joined Palmstreet?
I think it definitely has grown. It has pushed me to produce more. You know what? It's been a great change because before Instagram, I was just keeping everything for myself. You know what I mean? And now with Palm Street, as you guys collect cash to stride, you get a 1099 form. So it kind of pushed me to formalize my business. It's opened a lot of new doors I had never envisioned. I've officially registered my business with the state of California. I got my own PO box now. I just got my new work truck thanks to the Palm Street sales. It's going good. I've been formalized. I just opened my account, my bank account, my credit card with for my company. So it's growing thanks to Palm Street, and app itself is so well coordinated, so well planned. It makes everything easy to a point that I'm like we're contemplating like possibly moving out of state, quitting my job, and just doing 100% pottery. Like if not this year, maybe next year for sure. But that's something that I had never envisioned. I don't think I would have envisioned without Palm Street because there's like some kind of routine, some kind of structure with Palm Street.
Oh my God, we need to stop making ads and just clip that bit everywhere. No, but I'm so happy for you. That's
Thank you.
awesome.
Thank you.
Gosh, you need to send me pictures of your work truck.
I'll put the Palm Street logo on it. Maybe a sticker. Maybe a
Oh,
sticker on the windshield, on the back under your windshield.
that makes me happier than anything to hear, right? If what you do on Palm Street is something you love doing and now you can have more time to do it, perfect.
Yeah.
Okay, let's jump into some rapid fire questions. Are you
Cool.
ready?
Yeah.
Okay. Uh, what is one word you'd use to describe Palm Street?
Structured.
Describe your brand in one word.
I would say natural. I don't plan when I make something. 95 to 99% of the time, I don't plan it. I'll get a piece of clay. I have no idea where it's going. When I'm glazing, I look at it, I'm like, all right, let's try this. Like I have no plan. It's just natural, however it comes out, whatever I feel like the texture might look better with. No plans. Like literally people are like, oh, can you? I rather not do custom work. I do custom work, but I rather not because I like to just I want it to be natural, never the same. You know?
Yeah. And it feels like you kind of do your own version of, custom work, which is kind of like knowing what your customer is like and then
Yeah,
towards that.
yeah.
What is one thing you'd like people to know about you or your business?
Our customers come first. I'm always trying to keep my customers happy, no matter what. Yeah.
And that comes through. I don't know if you need the reassurance, but that comes through. If you were a song, what would it be and why?
A song, maybe that "Don't Worry" song. You know, because I'm always happy. And don't worry, be happy. You know, most of my
Amazing.
music, 100% of my music that I listen to is Spanish, by the way. So, uh, but I remember in college, you know, I listened to a lot of like reggae and Bob Marley and stuff like that. That song, it's I'm always happy. Like right now in the live, I was like, man, I'm like, I'm so thankful with you guys. I'm so happy. Like, I'm gonna give a 10% discount on all the remaining pods. And the guys, everybody's like, oh yeah, like you guys you're always in a good mood and blah blah blah. So be happy. Don't worry. Everything works out.
What is one piece of advice you would give to new sellers joining Palmstreet?
To be patient and to build a community. Yeah, because honestly, I'm like, I shouldn't even be sharing this, but that is a secret. That's a secret to my success. Is I got into the community and I literally plugged in. Like I went deep into the community and like I was at every single fair in at least here in SoCal. I'm telling you everything. I shook hands with every person, every seller from LA Succulents to Hunter from Cactus Quest, everyone I shook hands with. I had a beer with someone, a coffee with someone. I bought something from everyone, and it was genuine. You know, it was genuine. It wasn't just business, but it was genuine. And now everyone supported me because everybody knew who I was. So it took patience. It took a lot to build it. A lot of new people try to come in and they just try to sell. Hey, buy from me. No, it's you have to build. It's not all about the money. I mean, the money is nice, but you do want to feel like you're part of the community. You want them to feel like you're part of the community and and know that you know they don't. It's not just about the money. You're trying to provide a product that brings joy to someone. You know.
Yeah, and now that you mention it, a lot of our bigger sellers on Palmstreet, you'll see them in other people's lives. You'll realize that they're all like really supportive people of other
Hmm.
sellers, or if their products are different or not.
Yeah.
And my last question, where do you see your business in the next year?
I want to continue it. I just want to be consistent. If I can stay consistent for forever, hitting 2 to 3 lives, two lives a week, that's where I want to be.
Yeah.
I want to, yeah, and I want to just be happy making the pottery and having people be happy with the results.
I think that is the end of our interview. Uh,
Okay.
Thank you so much for
Oh,
doing.
thank you.